Welcome back, welcome back. It's Film Awards time of year again. This Sunday sees the BAFTA Awards in London, and one film hotly tipped for gongs is The Reader, based on the New York Times best-selling novel by Bernard Schlink about post-war guilt in Germany. The film is nominated for Best Director as well. Stephen Daldry has only made 3 feature films, and he's received an Oscar nomination for Best Director every time, 3 out of 3. Stephen is with us now, and we'll be talking in a moment, but first of all, let us look, as viewers, at The Reader.
Excuse me. So what would you like to have?
What are you having?
You order. I'll have what you have.
2 frankfurters, 2 potato salads, and 2 beers, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope your mother was happy.
She enjoyed her meal very much.
Stephen, how would you summarise, if you can, in a paragraph, what The Reader is about?
It's about one generation coming to terms, if you like, with the sins of the past, in one phrase. But it's about, it's an odyssey through post-war Germany, and really from the 1950s right the way through up to the 90s. And it's about one man who has a relationship in his early life, unbeknown to him, with an older woman who turns out to be a Nazi war criminal. And how he really deals with that, and what the consequences on him as he journeys through his life, how he responds to that throughout his rest of his life, and the burden that for that whole generation of Germans, the burden of guilt and silence imposes on him for the rest of his life.
Did she, in fact, Kate Winslet plays the part, did she, in fact, your central character, or in addition to be a concentration camp guard and so on, did she do beastly things? I mean, was she a fully fledged war criminal, or did she sort of accept responsibility for things that she hadn't done at the end of the film?
I think that Mr. Schlink was very clear that what he wanted to do in the book and what we did in the film was make it very clear that she is, without any doubt, a war criminal. She did do something that would be, in anybody's classification, defined as a war crime.
But probably not execution.
No, what she
it
actually
wouldn't have been if she.
No, she wasn't criminally insane. I think that part of the reason why he wrote the book is that this is not the woman, the camp guard, this character called Hannah Schmitz that Kate Winslet plays, is not one of the criminally insane people. I say that because it's terribly important, because so much about the story and so much about the book and so much about the film is about somebody who is relatively ordinary. I mean, in other words, when the boy falls in love with her, she has her own peculiar secret, which is not related to war crimes, which has another secret. But he has although she's odd and has her own difficulties and behavioural difficulties, this is not a woman who is a mad, criminally insane murderess.
It's how the German people should have responded to the war and the crimes and the sins of the war. There are modern parallels, or the reverse of parallels in a way. I mean, you have a situation in South Africa with the Truth and Reconciliation there, and in Northern Ireland, where the way to move ahead was in fact to forgive and maybe not forget, but to forgive people who in Northern Ireland were murderers or trying out murderous deeds and so on and so forth. I mean, do you think that we should be stiffer on the Germans than we are on Northern Ireland or South Africa?
Well, I think it's from the Germans' point of view, and Mr. Schlink's point of view, obviously, for his generation of Germans after the war, there was this Stunde Null. It was, let's start again and let's have this veil of silence. And I think part of the reason he wanted to write the book is this feeling of growing up without any discussion about the war, without actually any awareness of what had happened. And it wasn't till maybe 15, 16, which is when this young man falls in love, that then he starts to come to terms with what the previous generation had done, which were his parents, the teachers, his pastors, and in this case, his love affair of his life, his great love, and how he deals with that and how he dealt with that silence. I think it's the silence that is part of the problem, was part of the problem for that generation of Germans. It's very different now, but at the time, the silence was the problem. And I think if you're going to take any lesson out of that, the silence of any conflict, to just wipe it clean and say that didn't happen, let's move on and rebuild and do it. That's the problem.
And in terms of the difference in age, what was it between Kate Winslet and the young boy?
When he first meets her, he's 15, and nearly 16, but 15, and she's 36. So and I think that generational difference is what the subject of the film is about, rather than an abusive relationship by an older woman to a younger man. And
in addition to your nomination, of course, Kate is nominated for BAFTAs on Sunday and for the Oscars 2 weeks later and so on. Do you think, not being immodest, but do you think it's the best performance she's given in a film?
I think Kate's at the height of her powers, if you like. She's made 2 films this year. She made The Reader and The Revolutionary Road. She's astonishing in both. I think that she's proved herself this year to be the leading actress of her generation. And I sincerely hope that she gets recognised for it.
And what about your plans? Do you know what you're going to make next?
I don't. Actually, I don't know what I'm going to make next. I've made this musical with Elton John and Lee Hall, Billy Elliot, the musical, which we've just opened on Broadway, and now we'll have to open that again in America, in San Francisco, this year. And that takes up quite a lot of my time. Film-wise, no, I don't. The play-wise, I'm doing a play by David Hare, actually, at the National Theatre, about Berlin. David spent a lot of time with me, obviously, in Berlin, who wrote the screenplay for this film, and he's written a piece about his own relationship over the years to that city and how it's changed.
Do you have a different relationship with the material depending on the medium you're in? I mean, film, television, theatre. Are they all as intimate an experience for a director?
For me, yes, but I think I choose, when I read something or come across something, I don't think I necessarily worry about which medium it's in. It's just the material itself I've got to feel happy with and excited by, and something that I want to spend what usually turns out to be a couple of years actually nesting in.
Yes, 2 years.
It seems to be 2 years.
Par for the course.
Yeah. Everything seems to take 2 years.
Yeah, yes. Well, thank you for being with us today,
Pleasure.
Stephen.
Thanks for having me. Very nice to see you.
We'll be very nice to see you too, and we'll be looking out for the outcome.
Well, good luck to you too with Frost Nixon. I hope.
Well, thank you very much. At least with Best Actress, there's no competition because we don't really have a large role or a Kate Winslet-sized role in Frost Nixon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Thanks.
All the best.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.